a force of nature. So normally when you do VO recording, someone kind of goes in the booth, you're sitting out there with your audio director, and they'll read the line, and then they'll do it 3 times, then you say, I'll take the B take, or I'll take the A take. Yeah. Jeff came in, and we just let it run. Because he would, he'd just kind of warm in and he'd be like, yes, well, yes, the shield is quicker than the eye, and just kind of do it like a couple of times, right? And he would just go there, and then he would read the next person's lines as well. Yeah. Well, what has my wife done? Just start
That's
going
what needs to be released.
Yeah, and it was so good that we just couldn't call takes. Yeah. So he was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And I'm sure from animation cinematics perspective, it's fun because often you've had the characters look like those actual talents, right? Yeah. Any fun stories for you, Adam?
Well, one of the first celebrity ones that we did was with Michael Rooker.
That's right.
On Call of the Dead, and that was a lot of fun. The energy he brought there was just infectious. He took it all seriously. He brought his A performance every single time. There was times we had to be like, whoa, they're not real, But he would go in there and have this energy of like, come here, I'm gonna get, it was so much fun to work with that guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brian?
I mean, my favorite's Rooker also. He was amazing. But, the celebrity maps just kind of gave us all yet another break on this narrative thing we were on. Yeah. So, I actually love all those maps for completely different reasons.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Now, one thing we haven't talked about, which we absolutely should, is the community that has built around zombies. And, the Easter eggs. I mean, it's fascinating. I remember years ago on YouTube, I'd be watching, Noah J or something. It's like all these people watching his stream months after the game has come out as he's searching for something, and it's been so much fun. Tell us a bit about the zombies community, many of which are probably here today at E3. They are so passionate about this mode, and tell me sort of about the evolution of that, and I think the fun sort of relationship that Treyarch has with the community.
Yeah, well, I would say that their passion is what inspires us to do the best work of our career.
Absolutely.
It's the fact that they're so into it that drives us. It sounds cliche, but it truly is, because we feel this expectation. When we see that kind of passion, we see that level of engagement. It's like, okay, how do we go further? How do we make them something they're not expecting? And those early days, a lot of those fan theories and a lot of that conversation is what got folded straight back into the storyline, right?
No, absolutely. I mean, the very first Easter egg was a hidden song written by Kevin Sherwood, who works for Treyarch. And we hid it in Varuk because we made it, and it was like, oh, this is actually a pretty cool song. What can we use it for? Well, let's just put it as an Easter egg in Varuk and see how long it takes people to find it. And it was like an hour. But that was really inspiring. It's like, oh, people are into that. They should hide more stuff. And so it's kind of that's why we even call the quest line Easter egg still, even though it's no longer really an Easter egg. Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool watching the community discuss all these things, and early on websites are springing up, and now there's YouTubers everywhere. It's just amazing to be a part of.
Yeah, we've learned not to say this one will take ages, because every time we say anything like that or indicate that this is a big one, they've got it in 24 hours.
But I mean, tell me about that sort of the gamesmanship of you guys, creating things, and there's definitely, I think. There's a relationship with that community of sort of like, I mean, how does that work, brainstorming, especially Easter eggs? I mean, it's stuff that, again, the hunt is part of the fun.
Well, I try, I'll think about it in different levels or different strata to think about, here's the easy ones that you can kind of just easily get. Then here's ones that, they're probably going to have to work in a team to get. And then here's ones that are nigh on impossible. They're not going to get these, which they then do. Yes. But by thinking about it in kind of different ways means that different levels of people, their engagement, there's always something else. There's always another depth them to kind of discover. But over the years, it's got more and more complicated. I started off with a computer science background and programming, so I was like, I'll do the ciphers. I'll do this. They've already exhausted me now. I've got nothing left now. That's all the trickiness over now. So everything's just going to be straightforward. Press X to.
Well, that's why some people will play to find those. Other people will watch someone else play to find them, and it's that's what's fun. Are there any Easter eggs that have not been found?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Your task is at hand. Yeah. Can you tell us which game?
No.
Come on.
Here's the thing. So there's a whole bunch that haven't been found, and there's a bunch that they haven't got through it yet. But but when we get into the end, so I try and have I try to have a careful relationship with the community, which is close enough but not too close.
Okay.
Because if you get too close, then you're just following what they're asking for.
Yes.
But you want to be aware. You don't want to be deaf to it. So trying to be, questions that get asked and say, okay, which one? Where's the Easter eggs you haven't found? I like to be a little bit more separated, and then I'll have people on the team tell me, like, oh, they haven't found that one yet. I'm like, okay, excellent, okay.
But I'm just curious, like, are there dozens of things out there still, or what's?
On the different ones, there's, as little as kind of like a handful up to a couple of handfuls.
So vague. So a handful. So 5, at
well,
least 5.
I didn't say how amputated the hand was. But it's part of my stick now is to give nondescript answers to questions.
No, look, but that's part of the fun, I guess.
Yeah.
And now, when you go into something like Black Ops 4, how the Easter eggs, how big of a conversation is it about? I said how convoluted ARG-like these things are going to be.
It's a combination, right? So we'll engage with different departments, different groups, and talk about where we're hiding things. Especially now that we're telling a new story, we've got a brand new story now in Black Ops 4. When we get into the end of the previous story, we were putting more things in ciphers, making it a lot harder because each one could give so much gold, even a small amount. Yeah. But when you go to a new story, then it's almost like a rewinding the mentality back to the beginning, where it's a bit more overt about the story because you want to get people vested and into what's going on, all this kind of stuff. So the mentality has changed as well.
Yeah.
Well, something like a Blood of the Dead, so forth. You can go a little bit more hardcore because there's fans who will be really wanting to know the smallest little bit. So kind of combining it and talking about different techniques, whether it be in an animation or be it a sound Easter egg. And sound, being there from the very beginning, has a very special place in my heart. The kind of sound Easter eggs or the audio ones because that's where they first came from. Those ideas of those recordings, hidden that you press X on something that we wouldn't tell you, and then some audio log would play. Going into the new story, I like the idea that we kind of roll back to that mentality again.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's amazing what you guys have built over the years. Black Ops 4, let's talk a bit about that. Because the big reveal on May 17th, you definitely revealed a lot earlier than I think you ever have, right?
Yes.
On Zombies. It was a massive reveal of all the modes of Black Ops 4. But tell me, the team approaching this, 3-year dev cycle. When you start out, on this new cycle a couple years ago on Black Ops 4 Zombies, what was the original vision? What did you guys want to accomplish with this game?
I think the big thing that we were going after was starting a new story.
Yeah.
We've been telling the previous story for 10 years, and there was so much creativity in the team. And we've been blessed with the large majority of the team who are here today were there 10 years ago. Yeah. When we did Chronicles, for example, most of the people who made those maps were making them again for the remaster. And that's why, when Brian's talking about, the joy of going back for the sound, the designers were doing that as well, kind of going back and scripting stuff as well. So the idea is building up, and you're like, okay, could we jam this into the other storyline? Sure, we could.
Yeah.
But we kind of know where we want to go with that. And so very early on, it was like, let's not keep jamming stuff into a storyline where we know how we want to finish it and where we want to bring it to.
Yeah.
Let's start this new story. But then that's all scary because now you're starting something that the audience doesn't know, you're going to reveal for the first time. But that fear and that excitement is what drives the team. That's what made Zombies in the first place so exciting. It was this feeling of, who knows? So taking all the things that the community had taught us and being able to start a new story with new mechanics and new ideas, that's what's driving us. That's what's keeping it exciting. That's what's keeping it fresh. Yeah. And that's what's kind of keeping the team alive and excited.
So on like a 3-year dev cycle like this, the Zombies always sort of have a similar cadence in terms of when you come up with the idea and execute it. You're obviously doing a lot here. So that is, I don't know, I guess I'm wondering about the evolution of the Zombies mode within sort of a 3-year cycle and prototyping it. Because obviously some of it, is building off of what the team is doing on the main game too, in terms of systems and technology and everything. So you sort of have to ramp up with the main game in some ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like an asset sharing. So for instance, like the weapons, the multiplayer pretty much dictates the weapon selection we're going to have for the map. And then we'll highlight a handful of them and say, these are the special weapons or these are the wonder weapons or whatever that's going to be. But then because the zombies mode has grown so much, it's turned to a point now where it has its own kind of feature list where we're talking about its own
game.
Yeah, so it's before it was just like, hey, what bits do you have left over? Can we borrow some? And now it's kind of like, we want this. You know, there you go. So,
and I think even probably, you know, animation-wise, I mean, you get, you know, we saw from the reveal, I mean, massive cutscenes, and new content, and I mean, this is for
new
the game,
characters.
I'm sure, is a huge part of what you guys do every year now.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we were reviewing something before we came over here.
Tell us more.
wait.
Cut his mic.
Yeah. But no, but like this new crew, these new 4 are very interesting characters, and we're very excited to explore them and grow them and help them come to life and reveal more about them over time. But to me, that's very exciting, you know, because we want to explore new stories, we want to explore new ways to tell stories or what not to tell, and.
Why'd you point at me when you said that?
Well, because we like to go, in the animation department, we like to go crazy. And Jason has to come in and tell us, whoa, hold on.
I killed the fun. That's what he's saying.
No, not at all. No. The collaboration is great, but, you know, us as animators love to just see how far we can take that. And then working with Jason and other departments, we start to wrangle that in, even complementing it with the music. You know, we partner up very early on, and how do these scenes and the audio work together. I mean, it's a real collaborative effort, and through that, it makes it a lot of fun, and we're all working together and getting the different departments and disciplines talking about things. Like, there's things that the audio guys have brought up that I thought, wow, that's a really great idea, and we would incorporate into our scenes and just keep growing the ideas together. It's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, wow. like the music videos, right? That was something, you know, the hidden track in the beginning. When we got a little bit later on, we were like, okay, what can we do with this? Let's do music videos now. Let's tell stories now.
Exactly right.
With the music.
The one was the first music video too. It was based on that, right?
Right. So that idea of like, okay, let's take the lyrics and then the imagery that we marry with it can then tell the community new things, right? Mm-hmm. All the way to the point where you get to, you know, where are we going, right? Where we were like selling this kind of creepy vibe and a very different song, a very different kind of performance. So again, using the kind of different disciplines, different groups to tell stories, and that's really the kind of key to it. Right?
And like I was saying earlier, what I like about it too, it's our stories aren't just about the movies anymore. It's about how much you want to engage with the story. The more you interact with it and hearing the characters talking to each other, like, what did they just say? And depending on what your combo is, you get more information. And I really love developing that and working that story out.
I think what's cool about it is if you want the story, you have to go find it.
Yeah.
And if you just want to slay the undead, it's all there for you. You know.
And now, you know, so much variety too, right? 3 adventures on launch day.
Yep.
You know, crazy things like Voyage of Despair. I mean, it's like, I'm sure, as you said, there's stuff not on the cutting room floor. It just gets pushed off to, you know, the DLCs or things like that. How did the campaigns that you are shipping with, tell us a bit about why you decided to push forward with those for launch.
I can't really. So when you're starting a new story off, and this kind of goes to the question that I might not have fully answered before from you, which is, you know, in the early days, it was, okay, here's an idea, and then, okay, we got this level, let's put another idea here. And as we got further and further along, we had to plan a little bit further out, a little bit more, you know, further out. And you get to this situation now where, when you're starting a new crew, for its success, you need to really kind of think it all the way down the line. But then also, for people who are driven by narrative and our kind of storytelling, it's also important not to tell it in order, but for it not to be timey-wimey for the sake of it, if you will.
Yeah.
So Voyage and 9 are 2 key points in the storyline that will be told.
Okay.
But I'm not saying necessarily where they are in that storyline.
So, but it is. So it sounds there is interconnectedness.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the, you know, that's the part that we also want the fans to kind of investigate. So as they're playing, you know, when they're saying about you're not going to get the same line every single time, whoever's next to each other, that's going to allow them to start kind of connecting those threads. You know, the timeline coming out in Chronicles was appropriate because everyone had been through that stuff.
Yeah.
This one, I would put the challenge out to the community to start making the timeline before I have to.
Gotta give more though. Come on. You also announced you're doing a fourth map classified, right? With
yes.
the Cartesian. All right, getting to the questions you guys want to hear. So, break it down. What can you tell us?
What can I tell you?
Unclassified.
The clues
Coliseum.
the clues in the title. Well, it's going to be based in the Pentagon.
Okay.
And it's
This guy just gave him a shake. Was that your guess? Okay, there's a bet. What was the bet?
Which crew then?
Oh.
Which one? Okay, let me tell you this one.
Okay.
So it's the original crew.
Wow.
So it's the Ultimus gang. So Black Ops 4 is going to have our Primus crew in there, and then also our Ultimus crew and our new gang as well.
Wow.
So
all right, Jason.
and that's gonna set up some of the craziness that we saw in 5. You know, why did that happen? How did they get there? All that kind of good stuff. And it's a wonderful style. We're kind of approaching it in a very unique way artistically.
Oh wow. Okay.
But it also kind of folds into all those kind of mechanisms that we talked about on the reveal. So the kind of custom mutations and so forth. All that stuff then works as well. So every map that we're doing all works with the challenger system and so forth. So not only is it a kind of brand new take on that part of the storyline, and obviously a joy to go back and update it and modernize it, but it's a new part in the story also.
I mean, it's just it's insane how much stuff has to interconnect and all be sort of planned together. I mean, when and this is being developed alongside the 3 that'll come out at launch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the whole team is busying away right now. Straight after this, I've got to take these guys home because they've got to go back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
After this project.
No, and I mean, even for you guys, you know, you've got, you know, the entire game to sort of think about. And I mean, you stay focused primarily, I guess, on zombie stuff. But for you guys, I mean, now, it feels like zombies is a big part of what the audio and art teams are working on every year, right? I mean, how do you, because, you know, at least, and now MP obviously is big, and then, you know, Blackout and everything, but it's, you know, zombies is so different. Does it take sort of a disproportionate amount of resources because it's so new?
That's a good question. I don't think so. The way we have our, like in the animation side, we have our teams broken up in the different subgroups. We have cinematics, AI, and player animations. So as we start to develop and design these games, we start putting the resources and the energy in the right places. So it never really feels disproportionate at all. It's just, you know, part of the game development cycle.
I've got to call out for our amazing production department that makes all this stuff work. They're the kind of unsung heroes of all this because, you know, we have obviously our talent and our kind of energy that we're kind of going into different disciplines, but they're sitting in the background making sure all these pieces fit together. So,
let me text them that question.
Yeah,
what do you guys think?
And audio, I mean, you're doing different sort of soundscapes.
Yeah, I mean, I got to keep people from begging me to work on zombies. That's the easy one.
All right.
Yeah, everybody loves working on it. It's just it's so much fun and it's so different. You know, if you need to shift gears or you're not feeling creatively inspired on some other part of the game, hey, there's a zombies task for you right here.
Well, that's a good point because I imagine even for the team, you know, working on the same style of game for so many years, it's like, you know, to have this fresh creative palette with zombies every year, I think it feels like a new game. I mean, when you see those trailers for what you guys are doing this year for the 3 campaigns, it's kind of like...
It's fresh every map.
Exactly.
It's every map.
Every new map that comes out, we're like, what are we doing now? All right.
What's it going to be? And in many ways, you can do whatever you want because I feel like now, time period setting, it's like there is... Is there anything that you guys have proposed that you're like, no, this is too crazy? Like it just doesn't work?
Nope. It's, I mean, that's what makes it fun, right? Yeah. You know, and there's very few times in a person's career where you have that opportunity. Yeah. You know, as game professionals, our job is to make the project work and make it to the best of our ability. When you have a project that's so open-ended and supported by the fans so lovingly, it gives us the freedom to be able to try new things, go to new places, and that keeps us alive and fresh with the kind of creativity. And hopefully, you know, they feel that, you know, the community feels it. You know, I've said before, which is hopefully when you're playing zombies, you can feel every discipline's love for the mode itself coming through. I'm a bit hippie in that way. I feel like if people are loving what they're doing, then you feel it on the receiving end. So that's what we endeavor to do on zombies all the time.
Well, speaking of the community, I know we've got some. I think we've got a video question from a Facebook fan over at the E3 Hall that wanted to ask you something about that. So we want to take a look now at the video question from a fan on Facebook.
So my question is basically, will any of the previous Zombies lore tie in to the new game? Any of the story continuation or even references to the existing lore, since it was such a great story?
Well, wonderful question. Yes, that'll be tied into Blood of the Dead.
Okay, that's
so
right,
Blood of the Dead carries on that story. That was easy. I got away with that one. I thought that was going to be a hard one.
The whole map of theories, and like asking you to confirm X, Y, and Z on the timeline.
Yeah. Blood is. I won't say anything more on where that fits in, but it's. Yes, it is carrying on that story. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, I think we have another one. Second question. I'm a fan over at the Convention Center.
Hi, I was wondering if you ever see yourself introducing zombies into the Battle Royale mode as something that might distinguish you from other games that are coming out with Battle Royale modes.
All right, get some Blackout scoop. Here we go. Don't tell Vaughn.
I would. I'm going to use my catch-all answer, which is never say never.
Yes. I mean, when they revealed Black, I mean, he was sort of saying pretty much everything in the world of Black Ops somehow will factor into.
Well, yeah, I mean, the kind of obviously our characters, and we showed that on our reveal.
Yeah.
Locations may also make an appearance there. So there's already kind of a certain level of it, but who knows how that goes, right?
Are you? I mean, how involved are you in sort of? I mean, Blackout, like obviously you got a lot to do, but that's something that...
We're actually staying focused all on our dedicated zombie side. We have dedicated teams for each one of these things. So the maps we're doing for launch, which obviously there's 4 maps there, plus a DLC season coming down the road, we got more than enough to focus on in that.
There's a lot there. Now I'm sure, everyone's wondering when we're going to get more on this. It was cool, in May to get details on these campaigns earlier than ever before. Traditionally, I think you guys have held for kind of Comic-Con or summertime to sort of start to share about zombies or later.
Yeah, forget what you know.
There's
my marketing line.
Any teases you can sort of tell us about, when we'll hear more or the next sort of phase of information on zombies?
So the next time we'll be talking, we'll be at Comic-Con.
Okay.
So we're going to go to Comic-Con, be chatting there. But because we knew you were going to come along today and have the chat with you, there's a couple extra little things that I thought I'd talk about.
You guys into that? Pays to stick around until the end of the panel.
So we talked about maps, and we mentioned that, and obviously introduced a new storyline. And we talked about, I think, custom mutations. We talked about that a little bit. I thought I'd mention a couple of new mechanics or twists on mechanics that the audience might find interesting. So for the first time, we're going to give a choice for your starting weapon. So you get to select your starting weapon before you start the map. You'll also be able to select your own special equipment as well to kind of go into the map before you start.
For everything.
For everything. Wow. And then you'll also be able to select your special weapon, which you'll be able to upgrade and move through as you're kind of playing the game. And then as a final point, you'll also be able to choose your what we're calling perk vapors, of which there will be over 10 different kind of perk vapors, and you'll be able to assign them into the world. So rather than having your kind of perk machine that's just kind of static and staying there, now players will be able to kind of choose what combination of things and how to set it up into the map to change the way the map is played and what abilities and skills they can then have. Wow. So there's a couple of mechanics there.
I was going to say, so this is definitely...
That's an exclusive for you there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I like those. That's amazing. I mean, it feels like that's going to obviously, allow so much more customization. I mean, your loadout effectively when you're kind of...
And that's the kind of thing which is, when we're talking about, the most deepest customizable game we've created, that's part of it, right? Taking all the things which are kind of static or predictable and then giving the players the choice. So not only the choice for me as an individual, but if we're playing together, what's the combination of things that we're taking? And that's part of the strategy you're taking to defeat a map or get an advantage on a map as well.
Wow. All right, you guys into that? Yeah. All right, well, we will see more, it sounds like, at Comic-Con about that. And got to say, an incredible reveal for Black Ops 4. I know how hard everyone at Treyarch worked to, put all that content together, an hour of stuff. And, we don't even know that much about Blackout yet. I saw Vaughn and Bunting the other day on the YouTube show, and they're like, no more hints. But I think they talked about ballistics of weapons and how, but that was about all we got. So it's amazing to see what you guys are putting together, and we can't wait to see more and play it this October. Give it up to the guys from Treyarch.
Thank you.
Black Ops 4. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll be right back. Check. Good stuff. It's amazing. Thank you. Adam, thanks, man.